Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to put the two stepper motors brackets to one side for the time being. Take 4 of these corner brackets, and then we're going to take the B type aluminium V. Oh, it's not V slot, but it is a type of V slot. But the B type, which you can get on the Open Builds website parts file of this build, and the length of this is 430mm long. Okay, and it's obviously 20 by 40mm. Okay, now we need 4 extra of those fiddly T-nuts. 4 of them. Okay, and now we need to slot 2 of these, 1 of these on like this. I really am starting to not really like these T-nuts, they're just so fiddly. But they do the job, so okay. Just found a problem. Okay, let's make sure all your T-nuts are actually with the nib facing inwards, because otherwise they're not going to go into the B-type aluminium frame. Okay, so sorry if you guys have just followed all the assembly exactly like I've done, but this is my first time too. So anyway, onwards and upwards. Tying them up so they don't move around too much, so you can get the others on. You need 2 facing outwards like this direction, and then opposite and opposite, and then we'll measure them up and space them out correctly once we've got them on. Okay, once you've got these 2 middle sections on, you want to stick 2 T-nuts in the topper part, and then stick your end on so they're nicely blocked in. Tie it up. Not too tight, just hold it so they're straight. Get your T-nuts in there. Let's take this one off. Now obviously 2 in this side as well. On. Okay. So you have you've got these corner brackets on, roughly in this. There is a measurement between each space, it has to be, but for the time being just put them on, just tighten them up so they hold still. Make sure your 4 T-nuts are in the top 2 centre pieces up here. Okay, and so we need 1 more T-nut in the top section here, and then we need 5 along the bottom. Obviously once they're in, don't throw this around too much because they'll just fall out and go all over the show. So just stick 5 in. I think this is mainly going to be, these are mainly for like keeping all the cables nice and tidy around the frame, the wire frame of the build. So, you know, your wire management is a lot more easy to handle. Okay, so, okay, for this I'm going to have to change the angle of the camera. No longer overview shots because obviously I need a little bit more space to actually start assembling the wire frame. Right, now, as I said, we've got this part of the wire frame assembled. We obviously need 5 nuts there, 1 nut on the top, 2 either side. Okay, now the spaces that you want in between those brackets. So the outer side of this bracket and the outside of the inner bracket, yeah, should be 168 millimeters, and it's exactly the same for this side as well. Okay. The inner side and the inner side of these 2 brackets, you want it to be 94 millimeters. So once you've got that measured up, which is 168 from the outside of this corner bracket to this corner bracket, outside meaning obviously protruding bits, 180 millimeters. Then the middle gap from the inside to the inside of the protruding parts of these brackets should be 94 millimeters, which is about spot on. And then again 168 from the outside to the outside of the protruding parts of these brackets. Okay, you should have one T-nut on top, 5 laying down the bottom. Now you take your 520 millimeters by 40 by 20 off the B-type aluminium V-slot frame. You should have had 2 parts of these, which you should have anyway. Okay, now see, now you stick these 2 parts on these end brackets with your fiddly T-nuts, like so. Obviously you have a 520, is it? 520 V-slot on this side. Like so. Tighten them up. not too tight obviously, because you just want to try and get all these parts together and then start squaring it up and tying it, so you've got a nice flat bed and it's all going to sit okay. So now you take the white carriage part that you assembled earlier, put the stepper motor into this side that we've just assembled, the 520s, and this sits in the centre. Okay, after some full, best thing is to tighten one of the corner pieces up, obviously not too tight. Measure your 168mm from one bracket and then tighten that one bracket. Keep this one fairly loose for the simple fact that I tried a minute ago using the instructions on the build manual and found it broke one of my brackets and cut me severely. So I really have literally bled for this printer. So anyway, we're going to try it this way now. So that's nice and tight with the 168mm bracket. So now it should allow us to do the fiddly T-nuts on this section. Also, I do believe we need a couple of T-bolts in these top parts as well. Is that correct? Yep, a couple of T-bolts in the top section of the V-side. Right, okay, so now we should be able to fiddly get that in, because we've got a bit of movement that allows us to get that in. So now we can try with the other side in. Wow, I really hate these T-nuts. I'm being rather stupid here, is obviously an easier way. I'll be very happy for anyone. I've got that in now for anyone to do another video showing an easier way, but this is the easiest and the safest way I can think of now doing it. Your nice flat surface, your V slots now in there. Okay, then we'll tighten up all the brackets. Obviously not too mega tight for the simple fact. Obviously we're going to try and make it all plumb and square. Okay, so once we've got that section done, we need to take some even more of these fiddly T-nuts that I'm becoming really much to loathe. Okay. Stick two on this side of the white carriage, the top part, and to the opposite side. Again, I'm not 100% sure what these parts are for, because we get to almost the end of the actual written build manual, so we're kind of almost winging it soon. So anyway, two T-nuts that side, pass it on. Now obviously you take your Z stepper motor assemblies, one for that side, one for this side. We're going to stick them on your carriage. Now, so it's easier for me to obviously see and tighten this side of the carriage on. Okay, I don't seem to find any measurements where from the end of the carriage where these should be tightened. So for the time being, just tighten them enough so they hold. You can try and work out that as the build goes on. Maybe more clear, maybe become a bit more clearer once we start doing the Z part of the frame. Until then, just tighten them so they don't move about too much. That should do. Right. And then you can take the other end part, which is your four 30mm in length, 40 by 20. And take two of your corner brackets, and your fiddly T-nuts on again. Place it on the ends. Right, now you need four more of the fiddly T-nuts. Two on the top of part slot and two on the top of the slot. This is going to be able for you to attach bolts to and through your bearing end of your Y carriage assembly to the Y frame. Okay, now you take another one of your corner brackets and obviously stick it on the other end. You know what, I really do hate these T-brackets, these T-nuts now. At the start of this build, I thought, whoa, fantastic, look at those T-nuts. Yeah. And now look at them, and they just make me sick. Obviously stop that. Into the rest of the carriage, of the Y carriage. Okay. Now obviously before T-nuts you've placed in this slot, you've got to line up with this print of your bearing end. The 4 8mm your M5 low profile bolts to attach this part of your Y frame to the bearing side of your Y carriage. This is going to be awfully fiddly, you can't really see. Slowly got the things backwards and forwards. Not give you any more clearer instructions than what I have been given myself, which is none. What I can suggest, now you're supposed to be working on a flat side, but obviously we can't get to these T-nuts while working on a flat side and try and get the Allen keys in the bottom here. So at some point it has to be lifted on its side, and then all I can suggest is you tighten it up to the point where it's not tight, it's tight but not tight, and it's fixed. But then so enough so you can move it slightly and get it all square later on. So yeah. C1. Hope I can get it in the pipe. Okay, so once we've got these two bolts done on this, just keep it flush with that, with the wire frame then. That's right. So now we can lay it back down and do the top two on your bearing at the side of your wire carriage. Pull them in. I mean, this is going to take just time really. There's all your nuts are in awkward places now. So yeah, obviously just tighten up these 4 T-screws, the 4 bolts in the bearing end, the wire carriage bit. And we can I'm going to pause this bit and jump to the next bit. It's just going to take some time. Okay, so once you've got near enough all your nuts all on, fairly tight, but not too tight, because obviously what you've got to do now, you've just got to go around and make sure all the measurements in between the gaps are what they say on the build manual. The gaps here from the inside of this print here, your corner print, to the inner side of the print of your bearing carriage of your wire axis, it's got to be 188mm. Now you've obviously got to try and get that as spot on as you can, and once you have tighten everything up nice and tight, so it should be all nice and square and plumb. Okay, so I mean I've got at the moment, I've got 100, I'm about a mil or two out on this. I could go a mil this way, then tighten the middle section up, which can hold it all into place. So that's not too much. That's giving it pretty spot on really. Could go a little bit more. 7. Just give it to me. Yeah, strong. So you just basically got to take your time, go around and tighten everything up once you've got the right measurements in between the gaps of your prints. They're all on the print manual, on the build manual. And obviously all it is you just got to try and keep everything square. Obviously I'm not going to carry on tightening all these up, because that's the fact of it. You're just trying to get everything square, the right distances apart, so therefore it should all be measured. The only thing I'm not quite sure where these Z steppers are supposed to be actually situated along this Y-frame. I'm hoping once we start putting the Z up, that will become more clear. So these are the only ones you don't have to go bonkers with and over tighten, because they've got to be at a certain level so far. And there's definitely nothing on the documentation. So I think we're getting very close now to, because the build manual is only actually 90% written, so we're actually getting almost to the point where we're going to be winging it, and we've just got to pretty much guess what's going to be happening within the printer. Tighten up, square up, make sure your measurements are fine. Obviously this end, that's the inside of the print, the inside of that print. Obviously is 188mm, and the same this side. This side is obviously is 168 and 94 in the middle, and 168. So should have a good idea of what you're supposed to be doing. So 188 both sides here, 168 those sides up there. It should all start sitting very flat, and just turn around and tighten it up. That will be the Y carriage assembled, ready for your Z carriage frame to be added to your Y carriage. Okay guys, we're getting close. Thanks.